I'm in Salad and I saw The Butterfly Effect. It is directed by Eric Bress. And this was a super chat requested during my Until Dawn stream, which is, by the way, you can check that out right now. This was requested specifically because Until Dawn deals with the butterfly effect. So, if you haven't seen this movie, go check it out because I'm gonna spoil it for you. The movie starts, we're following a guy, he's in a big old panic, he goes into an office and he's writing a thing down and I'm like, what is happening, why is he in a panic? And then bam, 13 years before. Alright, we're dealing with time skips already. What is this type of movie? Well, we're following Evan. We're also following his friends Kaylee, Tommy, and Lenny. And his childhood has a lot of holes in it, especially during very traumatic parts, such as when his mom drops him off at Tommy and Kaylee's house. Hey, have a good time, honey. Have a good time. Hey, do you want to check out my amazing new video camera? Yeah. But go. Shoot. There's a cat there. Shoot. Go. Out. Go. So Tommy and also Kaylee have a dad who has a brand new video camera that they really want to test out, and then bam, he's blacked out, and now he's naked with Kaylee, and I'm like, what happened? And then, let's go to another traumatic instance where we see him, like, first of all, he drew a really creepy picture that he doesn't remember drawing, and then he's asked to write a bunch of stuff down in his journals. And so, you know what he does? One time as well, he just has a knife really creepily. And I'm like, why do you have a knife? What is wrong with you? Alright, let's, please put that knife down. That is not safe to have. And of course, his mother thinks just the exact same thing as I just said. Take it to an institution. Doesn't seem anything to be wrong. Write stuff down. Alright, right. He's a big old writer. Especially, he's hanging out with his 3 childhood friends as well. Oh, there's a big old brain idea. Hey, let's go check in my dad's basement, says Tommy. And Tommy finds a stick of what he thinks to be a firecracker. I'm like, man, first of all, why do you have that? It's hidden, so you shouldn't be able to find it. And if it's hidden, you probably should handle it carefully. Like, I really am just like, dude, please be careful with that. Even at that young, I would be like, please be careful with that. But you know what, bigger idea, hey, let's go blow things up with it. Alright, let's go to a mailbox, let's put it in a mailbox. By the way, they're now like around teenage age, and they're all a bunch of smoking cigarettes, and I'm just like, whoa, what a bunch of edgy kids. Man, their lives really suck, especially since they have to go and find a mailbox to blow up, find a mailbox to go see blown up, and then bam, you got a blackout, and they're running, something's panicking. What happened? No one will tell him. So he's kind of like, what is happening? I don't understand what's going on. And then there's another situation where good old Tommy is, being a brother, and he sees Evan and Kaylee kiss, and so he gets really mad. Gets so mad at the fact that he kidnaps Evan's dog, puts him in a burlap sack, doses a bunch of gasoline, and he's about to burn the dog when Evan gets there. Then bam, bunch of another moment of where he forgets everything that's happening, and then he's back in reality, and wow, oh, there goes gravity, it's back. And I'm telling you, he's just beat up, and this dog is burnt, and he's crying, and Kaylee's there. I'm like, oh, this is so, what a bad childhood. Also, oh man, he has to leave Kaylee there. And we even see Kaylee has a big old bruise from his dad. And I'm like, oh, so heartfelt. Man, I really feel for Kaylee so much. Not to mention that Evan doesn't tell his parents about any of this, about his mom, about any of this. So I'm like, Evan, you're also really partially responsible because you're not telling about, hey, I saw a bunch of bruises inflicted by Kaylee's dad on her shoulder. Could you please, I don't know, know anything about this? So, they end up leaving, and now he's in college. And I'm just like, man, what a rough life, but at least he gets to go to college about it. He's getting education, he's a psych major, he's trying to figure out the human memory. And honestly, I'm not surprised that he's fascinated by this at all because, he has a bunch of holes in his memory. He takes his journals, right? He's a lady friend over. He takes his journal, reads it, and then he stops for a moment, keeps on reading, and then bam, he's flashed back into a memory. Especially the memory of when the dog died and he tried to fight back and then he got beat up. And I'm just like, oh, interesting mechanic. I'm on board, honestly. If he can just go back into time and just observe the holes in his memory. Ah, man, what a cool movie. I'm on board at this point. So now he's reading more journals. And one of the journals especially, he reads back to the mailbox incident, and he drops a cigarette. He didn't drop the cigarette before, but he dropped the cigarette and he got himself a scar, and now he has a scar. And I'm like, okay, so one little effect from the past changes everything around. So he uses this, I'm gonna use this to protect my good old pal Kaylee. Kaylee, in this timeline, I'm gonna keep saying timeline because, oh boy. So Kaylee is really sad. She doesn't think anyone has her back, which honestly makes sense. She's been pretty much abused by her dad her entire life. And then we have Evan being like, hey, could you tell me about that instance when we were a little kid and we're being taped? And she just goes off. She's like, why did you have to remind me of that? Not even, saying, what happened. Real quick, this movie is very much about talking about the trauma because since Kaylee didn't talk about her trauma with anyone, her life kind of went downhill until she eventually killed herself. And, of course, Evan feels really bad about this. Then we see Lenny making a bunch of model airplanes in his room, just not saying anything until, Evan comes, hey, could you tell me about the mailbox incident? And you know what he does? He just says a bunch of stuff like, if you say anything, I'm gonna slit your mother's throat. Exactly like that. Wow, that's wild. She got a package for me. I got a package. Hello. Is that for me? Thank you.
So sorry.
You're good.
You have a good day.
You too. Well, that package is for salad dressing next time. All right, let's continue on with the movie review. So Evan, being yelled, say if you sell anyone, then I'm gonna cut your mother's throat. I think he thinks it's towards him, but then we get to see another flashback where Tommy actually says the line to Lenny. I'm like, oh, he's just saying it's trauma. But no person in this movie who has trauma is saying their trauma outright, yeah, I experienced this. It's always some sort of lashing out at the other person if the other person asks them about it, especially Evan. Evan just seems to be trying his best in life, especially since, I feel really bad that I didn't spend enough time with Kaylee, that I am going to go back to my journals. I'm going to read about the incident where we made that tape, and I'm going to stand up to his father. You know what I'm going to say? You're not going to lay a hand on her. Discipline your child. And you know what happens in that future? He wakes up in a frat room. Well, it's actually Kaylee's room, but he's in a frat. They're at college. Honestly, she's having a really grand old time. She seems to be very happy. And you know what happens? Well, I'm going to treat you right because I really feel guilty about not treating you right. But Kaylee's you're acting weird. You've never appreciated me before. He even takes her out to dinner, which I'm yeah, you should probably do that more. I don't know what version of Evan was in this body before, but this version of Evan feels really guilty and wants to treat you right. And guess what happens? During the date, and they're walking home, and oh no, Tommy has fled prison. Tommy is very angry, like super angry. It's because I assume that after Evan told his dad to not touch Kaylee, then he just started hitting Tommy. And it's just worse for Tommy. So this timeline, everything's hunky-dory for Kaylee and Evan, but not Tommy. And I'm like, okay. Tommy appears and is like, I want revenge. You have my sister. And he comes to Evan with the bat. He starts beating him, but he gains control. And you know what Evan does? While he's on the floor, kicks him, hits him with the bat, kills him. And now he's sent to prison. And now he has to deal with being in prison, not having his journals. So we get to see his life in prison. He's not some ultra Chad guy who's gonna stick for himself in prison. Mind you, know what he's gonna do. He's gonna accept the abuse. He just gets his food stolen. And honestly, I feel like if you're in that environment, Evan, I feel like you shouldn't take that, because then you're just gonna get more of it. But Evan's like, oh, I gotta get my journals. Oh, I have access to a journal now. Oh, wow. Amazing. I'm going to, in order to read my journal in peace, I'm gonna go to this other, two guys' cells. Yeah, those are called cells. I'm gonna stab them right in the crotch. Scene's very painful, by the way. And I'm gonna read the journal. I'm gonna read specifically about, I'm gonna get the, make sure that Lenny has an ultra good life. So I'm gonna make sure that, go back to the place where Tommy is burning the dog, give him like some sort of piece of glass or metal. Okay. Trust me, you gotta cut the tie loose. You gotta cut the ropes. And then Evan goes to Tommy, negotiates him down. You don't have to do that. You don't have to kill my dog. Please, I'll just stay away from your sister. You know what Lenny does? He stabs him. No one told Lenny to stab Tommy. Lenny did that on his own. Evan only told him to cut the ropes. And I'm like, why did you do that? No one told you to do that. Are you just like that succumb to peer pressure because he's just shown to do whatever Tommy tells him to do? So Tommy is a bully. He might be like, oh, well, I don't like Tommy. I'm gonna kill him because he's been tormenting me for years. So Lenny gets taken to a mental institution and Evan meets Lenny there and Lenny's like, you did this. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He did not do this. This is also like the same timeline in which now, looks like Kaylee left. She just kind of hitched a ride with some guy, and now she's a prostitute doing a bunch of drugs. She doesn't seem very healthy. She doesn't seem very happy. Evan doesn't like seeing this. I don't like seeing Kaylee like this, honestly. And so let's go back to the mailbox incident. Let's read about some of that from the journals. Read some of the journals. And actually, they do a good service. Tommy does a really good thing. Because during the mailbox incident, there's actually somebody who got killed. It's some lady and her baby. And she's about to, open the mailbox. But then, Evan's like, no, stop. Also, Tommy's like, no, stop. He, runs them all the way back to the house. And guess who gets amputated? Evan. Evan wakes up with him in a bad timeline. Lenny and Kaylee are together in college, and also Tommy is a good person. It's just Evan that has taken the beat in this timeline, and I'm like, Evan, I think you deserve it for trying to meddle with people's pasts. You cannot change people's pasts. You can only go forward. I mean, come on, man. But honestly, what's awesome about this, though, Evan tries to drown himself in the bathtub, but Tommy saves him. He's like, come on, I know it's gonna be hard, but don't give up just yet. And you know what Evan does? He employs the help of Lenny. Hey, could you open these journals for me and I'm gonna read them? He reads one of them. Oh, it didn't work. And then he reads the second one. Oh, it does work. And he's now thrown into another timeline. Honestly, I thought it reminded me of like the original timeline. I'm at the moment where I'm honestly blanking, just like Evan does in the movie, what happens after this moment. I know that Evan goes back in time and tries to reconcile, but instead he gets himself sent to a mental institution. He wakes up in a mental institution, basically saying the same things his dad did. And his dad, I've never mentioned the dad at this point, up until now. It seems like he has like the same power set that Evan does. There's even like a moment pretty early on in the movie where he visits his dad, and he is talking to his dad very nicely. Blanks out, and now his dad's choking him. Now we get to see why. It's because Evan went back in his body like a little child. As an adult, is like telling his dad, like, I can fix it all. He's like, no, you can't. This has to stop with me. And then he strangles him. So I mention this because now he's in the mental institution, and I'm like, oh, this is just a vicious cycle that you're in. Your dad wanted to stop with him. That's why he's just staying in the same timeline. Evan talks to the doctor, who tells him that his father insisted that he had some sort of photographs that he never had, just like Evan insists that he has some journals. So Evan has the big old brain idea to ask his mom to bring a bunch of home tapes. And then he barricades himself within that office and looks at those tapes. I'm like, oh, hey, it's the beginning. It's the opening scene. This is where it comes from. This is all where it starts. And he's looking at a tape at the first meeting of Evan and Kaylee. And you know what Evan does? He goes back through that memory, and he's like telling Kaylee, if you ever come around here again, I'm gonna be ultra mean to you. And Kaylee goes off to her mom, which is what Evan wanted, because they eventually get divorced. They stay around because Evan is there. They're friends with Evan. They have to deal with an abusive dad because Evan is friends with them. So he's like, all right, if I'm not friends with any of them, they're gonna have a better life. They have to have a better life without me. And I'm like, I really like this maturing moment where he's like, all right, let's go back. And now I'm gonna have a life that is void of Kaylee. Well, I know that Lenny is there because he wakes up and Lenny is his college roommate. He's like, where's Kaylee? Lenny's like, well, I don't know who's Kaylee? And then that's the new timeline. And then 8 years later, he's walking down some street and he notices Kaylee and he doesn't go talk to her. I'm like, that's probably a smart move. Honestly, you might be able to talk to her now. You guys are adults. You might have some common interests. Just see how she is, you know? That's how the movie ends. I gotta mention the director's cut. The director's cut was not in the version that I saw, but I did see a separate scene where Evan chooses a tape to watch. Instead of the meeting with him and Kaylee, it's him in his mother's womb, and his mother is giving birth, and he teleports himself into the body of him while he's a child in the mother's womb, and he strangles himself using an umbilical cord. And I was just like, oh wow, this is wow, oh no, what a crazy ending. I'm glad this wasn't in the final ending. I don't know if audiences would like that as much. I liked the director's cut. I also liked the original cut too. So that's how the movie ended. I really like Evan's just journey to knowing himself more. Like the beginning, he's like, I don't know myself because I keep blacking out during the key moments. And then there's some progression. I don't know myself. I'm going to discover myself. He's like, I know myself. I'm going to burn all these journals so I don't have to deal with this power anymore. And then he lives on. And I'm just like, good on you, Evan. Good job. I'm glad that you're not failing or having a bad life. I also just noticed this, that Lenny is the same guy from Daredevil. And I think he did good. I think he did great in both, honestly. Two different characters portrayed, both well. Also same to Ashton Kutcher. Oh man, a good job good performance. I didn't know that they were primarily comedy based on their very dramatic performances. I liked Ashton Kutcher's very dramatic performance, honestly. I think he did a really good job. It really sold the character to me. And because of the mind warpery, my mind has been officially blown, but I'm also very satisfied with the ending. I gotta give this movie a solid 7.6 out of 10. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. The ultimate goal of this channel is for me to become an expert movie reviewer. So, if you'd like to request a movie in the comments below, you can go do that in the comments. Also, fast track the request at patreon.com/ASEPresents for $20 a month for one movie review for 1 month, or $3 a month for some daily vlogs, all at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to support the daily grind, go to this link tree right here for some NSFW content, daily sets. It really helps with the daily grindiness of the channel. So go here, and until next time, I'm Mint Salad Saw. I'll see you later. My salad croissant's bacon bit.